Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video today. If this is your first time here, please consider sticking around, liking, commenting, and subscribing. For all of you who are part of the family already, thank you so much. I appreciate all of your interactions with me on live. I just adore your questions, your inquiries, and your suggestions. So thank you so much. And I hope to continue on this road to 100 with you all. So today we are going to do coffee and cards. Let's discuss John F. Kennedy Jr. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is because he's been in the news lately, even though he has tragically passed away in 1999. So, why are people talking about him today? It's not an anniversary of his death. It's not his birthday, it's not his wife's birthday, it's not his sister-in-law's birthday. It's just some weird conspiracy theories that have happened. Weird even for me. Okay, so I have no problem saying that I am a conspiracy theorist. A conspiracy theorist is simply a person that rejects the official story because they feel like there is plausible explanations elsewhere. Most of us started to become theorists right after John F. Kennedy, president, passed away by being murdered in broad daylight in Dallas, 1963, next to his wife. And it's still really unsolved to this day because the man who supposedly killed him, Lee Harvey Oswald, was murdered by Jack Ruby. So we are just on this vicious cycle here of not really knowing what happened. And because of things like the Warren Commission, many people became conspiracy theorists that day. I grew up with an awesome grandpa who taught me things like that, but my theories journey really started with Amelia Earhart. And if you haven't seen that, that is on my playlist for coffee and cards. Let's discuss. So please go check out Amelia Earhart. I adore her. So why has JFK Jr. been in the news lately? Well, there's something called QAnon. So it's a site or a person who's referring themselves as Q, who has apparently a high intellect, and Anon is anonymous. Put these two together and you get QAnon, which is some weird conspiracy theory. Satanist and pedophilia rings are plotting against Donald Trump. The day of reckoning is coming. And on that day, John F. K. Jr. will reveal himself and become the running mate or number one supporter to Donald Trump. Okay. I really have no idea how these things connect at all. I am a child advocate and I understand that the world is a very deep, dark place, and we're not going to go in that in this video. My next video, I will go in that very deeply, so please, trigger warning for that one on Friday. But why in the world, and I'm not trying to laugh here, would somebody think this? John F. Kennedy Jr. was a lawyer and at the end of his life, a publisher to the magazine George. John F. Kennedy Jr. did say that he revealed who he believed was his father's killer in the first edition of the magazine. That is on record. You can go look that up for yourself, but it's on record. So, did he get killed? Was he silenced for things that he knew? Or is this whole QAnon thing true and JFK Jr. is just going to pop out of somewhere years later and become Trump's running mate. I mean, I'm sorry, he has a sister who is alive. He has family that's alive. He has his mother surpassed him, I believe. I believe she might have been alive then. I'm not 100% sure. But we're going to look and see what I can find. Because as far as I know, John F. Kennedy Jr., his wife Carolyn Bessette, and her sister Lauren Bessette were murdered that day. However you want to say it. Plane crashed. They didn't live. So let's see if John F. K. JFK Jr. It's hard. Is dead. Okay. So I'm going to show you the cards as I get them. First, I see this person. Every time I get this card, it reminds me of JFK Jr., just the look. There's somebody surrounded in a garden by money. Of course, he was extremely rich just from his family money, but he did well for himself. He was a lawyer. He was a magazine person. But I feel like at this point at the end of his life, he was fairly secure in his life and in his money. But I also feel like because he was part of old money, there were people looking after him, meaning he had handlers, he had minders, he had people that um, looked after his money and kept a close eye on him. The Devil card popped up right away. Now, the Devil card doesn't necessarily mean evil, even though we've talked about satanic in this already. However, there is a thought process that there is a Kennedy curse, which I will be talking about in depth later. But I think this had to do with this whole curse. I feel like the Kennedy clan did some stuff they weren't supposed to, and, kind of sold their souls to things, or did rituals, or did whatever. Somebody messed up big time for them, and the whole family has been suffering from it. I feel like he had an internal battle going on, external as well, but internal, because everybody wanted him to be king. Everybody wanted him to be president. And I just don't feel like that was something that he really wanted to do at that particular moment in his life. It doesn't mean that it wouldn't have changed later. But I think at that particular time of his death in 1999, that wasn't on his mind. I do see um, the effigy here, the hands in prayer. So he is on the other side. Um, the three swords in the back represent each one of them. So all three of them passed over and went to the other side. So none of them are here. They were good thing. They were welcomes. The transition was easy. I don't feel like they hung around here. I don't, even though the crash was violent and unexpected, I don't feel like it kept them here. I don't think they were earthbound. I think that they all crossed over relatively quickly. Actually, I think they crossed over before the plane crashed. Um, this was their soul's journey to exit at this time, and that is something that happened before they came on this planet. They decided that their soul journey was going to end at this point. Now, this is JFK Jr., this is Carolyn Bessette, and I feel really bad that the sister was involved with the sister. Lauren and Carolyn were extremely close, and I don't think one would really survive without the other. And that goes back on a karmic level for years. I feel like he felt like he was a little JFK Jr. felt like he was a little page boy, and he was always going to be seen as the little boy on his third birthday saluting his dad's coffin. And yes, that image changed the world. It changed all of us. It ripped people apart. I wasn't even alive, and the first time I saw it, it ripped me in half. But he wanted a family. He wanted his time to be a father and a husband, and it just wasn't meant to be. On the other side, I feel like he has a lot of kids that surround him. I feel like he's a protector of a lot of kids, him and Carolyn both. But I don't feel like they're here at all. But I feel like their transition was very smooth. And I mean, it surprises me because of the quickness and the impact of an accident or a murder. Lots of souls hang around for a little bit, but not them. They transitioned really fast. He was a hard worker, but I feel like he's still a hard worker. I feel like he's working very, very hard on the other side due to a spiritual battle, which it's deep. There are secrets that were buried with money. I see a lot of secrets that were buried that this was prior to him. He inherited some of these problems just because he was born, but he chose to bury these secrets instead of do anything with them, because I think he felt like whatever these secrets were, if they came out, it wouldn't make any difference. There were some things that he wanted to get out. He really did want to get out the killer of his father, but other things that happened, other things in his life, he really buried it because it wasn't necessary for the world to know about it, because the world is not owed information. Um, he's looking at the world now from where he is at, and I feel like he is watching over someone very particular. And I don't think it's anybody in his family, nor do I think it's President Trump. Now, please don't come for me in the comments or anything like that. I could give a poop about politics because I think they're worthless. But if I speak about one candidate or another, Republican, Democrat, I could give a poop. So I'm just telling you the biz here. I'm telling you what I see. This has nothing to do with my political thoughts. So if I mention Trump, I mention Trump. If I mention whoever else, I mention whoever else. But I feel like because there's this conspiracy theory revolving around Donald Trump, this is completely wrong. This never happened. There was supposed to be a quote that happened that JFK Jr. said he would support Trump if he won presidency years later, and he supposedly, that was an interview in George. That never happened. No one can find that quote if it supposedly happened. I don't know if that's like a Mandela effect for someone, but just it plain did not happen in this realm that I know of. Interesting enough, George magazine did a lot of features on people who had very famous fathers. I want to put a pin on that one and talk about that particular one later, because I had almost every edition of George magazine before it was canceled, but it was an interesting stories there. But I feel like JFK Jr.'s energy is focused on a single person, but it's also not focused on this world at the same time. Time of judgment is coming, apparently. Like someone said, the day of reckoning is coming. But this judgment has nothing to do with him. Okay, so what is this judgment about? The lonely man with secrets that were spilled. The religious man who pretended to be something that he wasn't. The muses who drink deeply from the cups. The wars. False idols. False religion. And the reason I'm smiling is because I feel like all this stuff is going to be called out, but it has nothing to do with JFK Jr. But he's not stopping it either. He is very focused on kids on the other side, and I believe that he is one of those people that help little children pass over. He's a very trustworthy person, and I think him and his wife both do this. So I see why some people would say that this QAnon thing has to do with JFK Jr., but it doesn't. Oh, I flipped my card somehow. But the day of reckoning is coming for a lot of people. And again, I'm just laughing because it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be sit back and watch and just watch some of the world crumble, because it's time for a lot of these people to come down. But they're fine. They're fine on the other side. They're happy. They're together. There's no message here. There's no need. It's just, it is what it is. It was a plane crash. Unfortunately, 3 people lost their lives that day, and yeah, the world felt it, and it was very sad, but there was no reason to worry about them. There's no reason to feel like there's an agenda beyond this life for them, because there isn't. Their path is their path, and it is well, because they are taking care of things that they're supposed to on the other side. This was supposed to happen. As sad as it was supposed to happen. Now, do I believe that there will eventually be some leaks, possibly, about conspiracy theories that have nothing to do with QAnon? Possibly, yes. I feel like horns are going to be sound, even though this is the wands. I feel like it's blowing horns. I feel that there is, there's definitely magic involved in this, or cycles, or things that you want to say. I still believe that the rich are holding all the pieces together, and information travels. So I feel like you should pay attention to more underground media, guerrilla journalism, things like that, because I feel like that's from him telling that you need to pay attention to these tiny little journalists, these tiny little YouTube channels, these tiny little bloggers who are reporting what they actually see, and they don't have a script or an agenda from somebody else higher up. So I think the message from this particular video from JFK Jr. is he's completely fine, his wife is fine, his sister-in-law is fine, they're all where they need to be, and they're fine. But it's time to start distrusting media and start listening to the little guys, because us little guys don't have an agenda. We don't serve anybody. We don't have a script. We're the ones telling what is actually happening out there. So start really listening to them, because the narrative has been changed. The narrative is continually being changed, and that's not what this is supposed to be about. This is supposed to have truth, and there is no truth here. So pay attention to the little guys, give them your attention, give the bloggers the attention, give the vloggers your attention. They're the ones that have actual factual news. Because remember, they don't serve anybody. They're just bringing you a part of the world that you wouldn't see otherwise. So that's my reading on John F.K. Jr. May he rest in peace. All right, everybody, I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are. And remember, every single day is a gift. Use your time wisely. Bye.